want, what you want.
Alright, step one, let's create our armature. The base armature of this shrunken head is just going to be a ball. So we're just going to take some newspaper, wad it up into about the size of a softball, and tape it all up into place to hold it. And after we do that, we'll just move on to mache. So we'll take some paper mache paste, some strips of newspaper, and we'll mache this thing up. I always start off by applying the paste to my ball and then applying the paper and smoothing it out. We'll layer this up one piece at a time. You want to layer this thing up 5 to 6 layers for strength, and once we're all done, you'll set it out to dry. Alright, next step in this, we're going to add some features. First feature we'll add onto this is a chin. Very simple. We'll just take a little bit of newspaper, wad it up into a small little ball shape, and then tape it into place. As well, we're going to use the tape to shape our chin. So as you apply the tape, think about that and shape it down into place. Next, we need to make the nose and some eyes. The nose is simply a small piece of paper wadded up into kind of a flat cone shape. The eyes as well are going to be basically flat little button shapes that we take a small little piece of newspaper, wad it up, tape it up into a nice kind of round little flat button shape. Once we have all these done, we'll simply just hot glue these into place onto the head. Now once we have these features glued into place where we like them, then we're going to permanently secure everything into place by applying strip mache over all the new features we put on. So just like we did with the ball, we'll apply some paste to our armature, then apply the paper and paste over and over again. On the chin here, I recommend layering this up pretty good, 5 to 6 layers, that way it's all contact with the ball and it creates a good strong structure. Once we get the chin done, then we'll move on to stripping over the nose and the eyes. Once we get all of our paper mache strips laid into place and set up, we're just going to take this thing and set it back out under a fan to dry. Leave it out overnight, 24 hours. The next day it should be plenty dry enough to move on to the next stage, which is applying clay. Okay, here we go. So the head's all dried up, ready for clay. And this first step in clay is very easy. You're just going to take some clay out and simply basically just skim the face over with clay. This isn't going to be anything bulked up. We're not really going to do any features here. We're simply going to cover over the face with a nice thin layer of paper mache clay. Very simple, very easy. Alright, now basically here you can see we've got pretty much 90% of the face covered in clay. Really kind of takes on more of a little human form now than it did before. And once we're through with this step here, we're going to start adding on the features and really bringing this thing alive. So we'll take a small bit of clay, start with the eyes, and we're just going to take that clay, roll it out a little bit, and we're going to bulk up and give us some clay to work with over the eye section. Put those on, get them smoothed out, make them look as even as you can. Once that's done, then we'll take a flat bladed tool and basically just carve in a straight line section into the eyes that makes it look like we've got two eyelids that are closed. Very simple. Above that, we'll take some more clay, add in a little more features. We'll give it an eyebrow ridge that always adds some life to your character. You can do this multiple ways. You could raise these eyelids to give it more of a cartoony look. You can bring the eyelids down in, I'm sorry, not eyelids, but the eyebrow ridge. You can bring that in sharp towards the ends and make it look mean. It's really kind of up to you what you want to do. Now what I was just doing there, I had a paintbrush, a small little paintbrush that had some paper mache paste on it, and I was just smoothing out the ridge underneath that eyebrow line there, just to kind of bring that in a little bit nicer and give it a better shape so there wasn't any harshness to it. As well here, I was already starting to play around with some of the wrinkles that I wanted to add into it as I was going, so just simply taking a flat bladed tool and carving in some wrinkles. After that, we need to bring the nose to life. Very easy. We'll just take a couple little balls like you saw, one on each side of that nose, and we'll create the nostrils. Once I had those in place, it looked like the nose was needing to be brought out just a little more on the tip. So simply just add a little bit of clay right down to the tip of the nose to bring that out more. Once we have everything into place, take some time and shape out the bottom side of your nose. Next, we're just going to simply take some more clay, a ball of clay, and we're going to add some cheeks, some meatiness to the cheeks, some structure there to give it some more shape as well. Very simple, just a little ball, put it into place, and then smooth it out. Like the eyes and the cheeks, we'll move on to the lips. Just a small little worm shape of a piece of clay. We'll apply that down there on the bottom side of the chin. That gives us some meatiness to work with there. Gives us a lip line. And gives us something to stamp lips into. Now what I'm doing here is it looked kind of rough, so just to smooth everything down a little bit, just took a paintbrush with some paper mache paste and went back over the entire face with this again to kind of smooth everything out. The wrinkles I put in before didn't really like, so this kind of erases them gently, gives me something to look at, and we can go back towards and carve some more wrinkles and some more detail in. So here we'll go back over some of these creases. When I ran the brush over, it kind of broke up that line on the eyes, so I went back in there and made that more prominent, and then come back in again and started tooling in some more wrinkles back into the underside of the eyes, around the nose, down below the cheek structure, anything to bring those wrinkles out that would be in a natural face. Once we get this done as well, just like the eyes, the mouth is very simple. We will just take a flat tool like I have here, and we're going to run it right down the center of that meaty part of the lips that we put on and create two lips. Just like that. That simple, that fast, and we've got a couple lips. Detailing your lips and detailing everything around the face, it's totally up to you. You may want to pull up something on Google Images to give you something to look at, some more references for wrinkles. But all in all, it's very, very easy. You're just going to take a flat tool, carve in your wrinkles, pull them through. If they're too harsh, you can come back down over them with a paintbrush like I did, with some paper mache paste, and knock it down. I know it looks a little rough here, but when this dries up, again, everything will shrink. So anything that looks like it's a little rough, as this thing shrinks down, a lot of those things that we see will disappear. as well. I wanted to give these nostrils just a little more opening to the nose, so took a little tool, dug some of that out, and put a little more flare to the nostrils. There we go. Alright, our face is set out. 24 hours, 48 hours, it's dried. Next step, very, very simple, very simple. We're just going to cover the rest of the head with clay. Once we have that all covered up all the way around, we'll just set this out to dry. There's no detail on the back side of the head. It's not really seen, and it's just skin and flesh tones on the back side. So no detail here. All we're going to do is simply take some clay, lay it on it, smooth it out, and just cover the back side of our ball now with clay. And once we get this all covered with clay on the back side, we'll set this thing out to dry for a day or two, and then bring it back in for the next step, which is the paint. So a lot of my projects start out this way. It's based in black. The black I use is an exterior black paint because 90% of what I make goes out into my yard haunt. So we'll start this out by completely covering the entire head in a good base coat of an exterior black paint. Our black paint's dry. Next step I want to do before we add any more paint is we're going to go ahead and drill small little holes into the eyelids and into the lips of this thing, where we're going to place our stitching later to have that effect. The eyes have been stitched shut and that the mouth has been stitched shut as well. So generally I'll just do a total of 4 holes on each eye, 2 on the bottom eyelid, 2 on the top eyelid, to give me something that I can do a cross stitch pattern in on the eyes. As well on the mouth, we're going to do the same thing, very small, shallow little holes on the top lip and on the bottom lip. On the lips, we'll have a total of 8 holes. Basically, that way we can get 2 different cross stitches in it. So 8 holes total, 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom lip. Remember, anytime you're using a power tool as a drill, and like I'm holding this here, you run a danger or risk of drilling into your fingers, so use extreme caution anytime that you're using a power tool with any project that you do. Alright, so we got all of our holes drilled. Now what we've done is opened up areas where we get water intrusion in. So before we move on, we'll just take that same exterior black paint and a small little paintbrush and fill all these holes with that black exterior paint. And it just gives us an extra added protection to keep out any kind of water intrusion to get into our project if it sits outside in the rain. The second phase in paint was just to dry brush white over the entire head, like you can see here, all done. When you're doing dry brush, it dries up very quick. There's no reason to wait for dry time. For our skin color, I just took a couple different colors of brown, a very light tan color, and then a darker color, mixed them together, added water to it, because what we're creating is like a brown wash. I really enjoy this type of painting. When you've got that black base and then that white dry brush on top, and when you do these watered down, almost stain type of effect, or a tea stain type of effect, It really creates depth in the paint, and I just love the way it turns out. There may be better ways to paint, but right now I'm really enjoying this, and so I do this on 90% of all my projects. So first step, we're just going to take and completely brown wash this entire head, top to bottom, all the way around. As you're doing it, you'll notice it thins out in some areas, so you may go back 2 or 3 times while you're doing this if you want to darken up certain areas. It's just really up to your taste and what you like and what you're seeing in your project. So just have fun with this, take a look at it, get it washed up, and if you think it needs more here and there, just add it to it as you see fit. So I had set for a day, a good day to get that to dry. I mean, remember this is really watered down paint, so it takes a little bit longer for it to dry. Our next step, we're going to add a little more dimension to this. So I've just got some straight purple that I added some water to once again, and we're going to go over the areas that would be bruised up from it being stitched together. So we'll start off with the eyes. We want to bruise up those eyelids pretty good. So we'll take that purple paint and we'll go over our eyes and the eye area, get them good and doused. Then you'd see some bruising down around the sides of the nose and areas like that. So we're going to create those effects with this same paint. We're going to move that right down around the nose, around the cheeks, and up to the eyes, just to create that bruising that's gone on in the face as this thing is shrunk up. As well, we're going to add some purple to the lips too. I mean, they're going to be stitched up. There would be some bruising in there, and as far as I'm concerned, so we'll add some purple into the lips as well. Really have fun with this. There's a lot you can do. As you see here, I'm just taking a little bit more watered down purple and shading in around those cheeks and under those cheeks. It just adds depth. So whatever you feel like looks good, go with it. Have fun with it. You'll never know how it's going to turn out unless you give it a try. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is take a little gray paint and some water, and I'm going to kind of dull down underneath the eyes. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Just look at pictures, take reference, different colors, try things, experiment, have fun with it. No matter what you do, really, this thing's going to turn out okay. Alright, so next we're going to start prepping for some hair. What I like to use, this is just a big ball of jute twine. I experimented with some jute twine with some hair a while back. I really enjoy the way it turns out. I like the texture of it. So basically, I'm pulling out about a foot section and then just cutting it off, and then just using that same piece as a template over and over again. How much hair should you cut out? You know, it's always a guess for me. Just cut out plenty of strands. You'll find out that you'll be looking at a big wad of jute twine there thinking you have enough, and then once you get into it, you realize you didn't, and then you got to cut out more. So just cut out plenty, a good pile of jute twine like you can see here. Now once you have those cut out, the jute twine size I get, it's basically 3 pieces rolled into one. So those pieces are too thick for a piece of hair, so what I do is I undo these down to those 3 pieces. So just find one piece, get it pulled away from the rest, and then get your other 2 pieces pulled away, and then you've got 3 strands of hair here out of 1 piece of jute twine. Then you're just going to do this process. I know it's going to take a while, but you're going to do it to each one of these over and over again until you get each one of these separated into 3 pieces. Once we get all these done, we want to stain this, give it some color. I don't like it so light, so what I do is I take a bowl, put some exterior black paint into it, mix it all up, get that black paint saturated in there. I'll let it set and soak. As well, I'll put water in this and let it soak up for 4 or 5 hours or overnight. The longer it sets, the better that color saturates into your jute twine. Now, the last bit of painting for the head itself. Oops, made a little bit of mess there. Just some straight black paint and some water. We're going to create a black wash, and then we're just going to black wash the entire face. This will darken down the face. It'll also allow that black to get into all those wrinkles and things that you put in when you were adding detail, and that really makes those wrinkles and those other areas just really pop. I really enjoy the black wash. Black wash is done and dry. Last little step here, we're just going to take some black paint and come back in and add black into the eyelids where they're closed and that crease in the mouth. Moving on, now for some fun stuff. We're going to add the stitches to the eyes and the lips. Basically, I just cut off about an inch and a half strip here, quite a few of them. Take a little hot glue. This can burn your hands. Be very careful with it. You probably shouldn't use your hands, but I do. I add a little bit of hot glue to the tip of the jute twine to pull all the pieces together. I'll stick it in the hole, lay it out, measure it, cut it to fit, add glue to that other side, and then kind of mock it up into those real quick. And then simply tack these pieces of stitching into place with hot glue. Just put hot glue in the hole. Push your jute twine down in there. If you get any hot glue come out, pull that out and trim it up a little bit, and you're done. It's very, very simple. A little hot glue in the eye, put your twine in, and just tack it into place. So we'll use this hot glue and jute twine for all of our stitching. We'll do it for each eyelid and the mouth. I really like the way the jute twine looks as stitches. It gives just a great look. Okay, so now we're going to attach the hair to the head. Multiple ways you can do this. You can just glue the hair straight onto the head, but a lot of times I like to hang mine up, and I've noticed if I just glue it onto the head, after it gets some weather in it, the hair would pull off. So what I did was took a paint marker and I kind of put a pattern on the head where I wanted to glue these pieces to. So I just simply took dots and created a little pattern. Now on all those dots, we're going to drill holes in all those little dots. And what I did before, what you see here, is I just took a pick and I indented into the dot so I had a good spot to start my drill bit from so it wouldn't skip around on me. Once you have all those in, you're just going to take your drill and simply drill out every one of these little white dots that you've put in. Every little white dot is going to be a place where a strand of hair is going to go. Kind of like the stitching, you're going to take and put a little hot glue on the end of your hair jute twine, and then put a little glue in each hole that you've drilled, and you're going to insert the hair into those holes. This really helps hold that hair into place, especially if you're going to hang your shrunken head. If you're not going to hang it, you don't have to do this step. But if you're going to hang it, I highly recommend that you do this, because it will hold much longer and go through much more weather than just simply gluing it to the top of the head. Okay, here we go. All of our hair is in place and our shrunken head is done. We have simply created a shrunken head from nothing. It really looks good. It looks good hanging up. You could fold the hair under, put it in place like this. It still has a good look. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and keep making something from nothing.